It's a pleasure to be here to tell you a little bit about what we've been building at Spacehive, crowdfunding platform for civic projects. So our mission with Spacehive is to try and create a world where we've really democratized civic improvement. If we look at cities, cities are teeming with individuals, local businesses, community organizations who've got wonderful ideas for how to transform a green space, start a new street market, or perhaps bring an old heritage building back to life. How can we create a system where we can get ideas like that out of people's heads and actually get those things delivered in a way which boosts people's quality of life, improves the local economy, and actually makes ordinary citizens feel part of the process of changing cities? So the space that we're trying to develop is that interaction between the private zone, where people do projects which are in their personal interest or the business interest, and the public zone, where the municipality traditionally has direct control. And this is one of the challenges we've got. There's a lot of different stakeholders in the civic environment. There are people, there are families, there are businesses, of course, councils, municipalities, and brands. But at the moment, we're rather dependent on councils and some grant funding and perhaps contributions from property developers to bring civic spaces to life. So how can we get to a world where we open up the supply of capital and actually really fuel great ideas more effectively? The second problem we've got is that if you're a citizen change maker, if you're somebody who's got an idea for doing something in your neighborhood, then you face this world of pain in trying to figure out where the different grants are and get permission and perhaps do lots of different applications. It's a really annoying and time-consuming process, and the obvious result of that is that not very much happens. So one of our big challenges is to try and distill that down. You still have to have pain because you've still got to figure out what your idea is and make sure it's deliverable. But you should only have to do that once and only have to pitch your idea once. And then we should be able to unlock all the resource and support that you need from all the stakeholders that are interested in making the city better to make you realize your project. So how does Spacehive do this? Well, we've created a marketplace platform which allows independently verified projects to attract the support that they need from local individuals, friends and family and neighbors, from businesses, but also the municipality and bigger grant makers, all through one portal. To make that work, you need to have a different software to allow people like the Mayor of London to back projects versus, say, your neighbor down the street, of course. And you need a contractual framework and verification process to make sure that these projects are actually viable and there's accountability. Quite complicated delivering projects in the civic environment, as you know. A year on, 3 years on, we've got a pretty good proof case for this model working. So 161 projects already delivered. There are about 800 actually now underway across the UK. A really interesting mix of projects and mix of funders coming together to make these things happen. It's that interface between crowdfunding and grant funding that we need to get right, along with the viability check, to make sure that we can actually do civic crowdfunding at scale. It's not just about the money. We've also got skills and stuff being pledged by companies and local businesses and others, perhaps a free park bench, some help sorting out the business plan for the library you're trying to create. And we're increasingly now seeing that mayors, councils, and companies see this as a way of backing the kinds of projects that they're really passionate about, but in a way which is more financially efficient because they're doing it alongside potentially hundreds or thousands of other contributors, but also allows them to really reward projects that they know are popular with the community, because these are ideas that come armed with hundreds or thousands of pledges, the community voting with their wallet for the kind of idea they're really passionate about. So there's a lot more transparency in the model that they really value. And some of the different companies and councils that we work with, you can see right in the middle, the Mayor of London's page, a partnership where we've really tried to get under the skin of what it would take to get a municipality to collaborate with a crowd in these time-limited campaigns to do ideas that people are really passionate about. So we help to bring these initiatives to life, go into communities, get people excited about the ideas, bring the partnerships together, literally plug in the different sources of co-funding that are available to create parks, to do high street transformations or whatever it is, and to get people's creative juices flowing. And the idea is to build an ecosystem which actually sustains itself, a marketplace for civic improvement. And when you bring all that together around the projects, you can really fuel their success. And you can see the impact of that reflected in the stats. There's this collaboration between all these different stakeholders through these really exciting crowdfunding campaigns. And the result is that if project ideas can get just 10% of the funding that they need, they're going to have an 80% success rate on average. So you get to this really early tipping point where it becomes likely that they're going to succeed because their ideas are being backed by not just the crowd, but also institutions that care about making the city better. Here's an example. This is a project down in Peckham in South London where somebody came forward with an idea to transform a derelict railway line, very similar to the High Line in New York, although much smaller, and turn it into a park, and it would connect these two different parts of the high street. And they crowdfunded the 75K they needed for a feasibility study, and the idea is now off the ground and has the support of the council, the Mayor of London pledged, various other businesses pledged, a really popular idea that wouldn't have happened if you hadn't had, I don't think, this mechanic. So our impact to date, 5 million of projects funded. Across the UK, we're just in the UK at the moment so far. It's a 46% success rate on average. That rate rises to 80 after 10% is pledged, as I mentioned before. An average of 58 backers, 12K raised on average, 10K of that coming from organizations. So the crowd is only doing 2K on average, but that's critical to giving it the democratic mandate that then unlocks the institutional support. And here are some of the examples of the kind of stuff that we've done. This was a project to close a high street for the day. It was a local guy, he was an artist, it was a hot summer's day, he just thought it'd be really fun to have this water slide go down this steep hill, which is the main high street in Bristol. This is a £5,000 project, but ridiculously popular, really captured the imagination of the city, and there was 100,000 people who applied to go down that water slide for one day. But it wasn't just a piece of fun and an amazing branding for the city, it was also good for local business. They got 120 grand of extra turnover as a result of this pretty wacky idea that people got behind. This is a larger one. This was 150,000 UK pounds for a project that a businesswoman had, an idea that she had to take this is a large tract of land, which is almost like an urban hinterland in East London. It runs alongside the Lee River, which is a tributary to the Thames. And she said, why can't we create a sculpture park here? And she's got all this work, which was in storage, and found sites for it all across this route. And so now people cycle and walk down there, and it's a really significant cultural attraction. £150,000 crowdfunded there. Right at the other end of the scale, this is the Brixton Bolt. It's basically a bunch of young guys who closed the streets in a suburb of London for the day and said, let's find the fastest man or woman in Brixton. It was a street race, £430, some cones, a stopwatch, the ambulance, a lot of fun. And this is one of the most recent ones, the Peckham Lido. It's crowdfunding right now, reviving an old Lido, which had been underground for 30 years, really popular with the community, bringing it back to life. So the future, where we want to get to is to really democratize civic improvement. So just to make it normal for local people and businesses to come together and collaborate on projects. In every community, people should be constantly being able to upgrade their local spaces or create something new. I think that crowdfunding is going to become the default funding model for civic projects as cities increasingly realize that you can get better impact, both financially and socially, by collaborating. And it's going to become crowds of citizens primarily, rather than councils, the primary initiators for change, that they're going to be coming forward with the ideas to transform places. As a result of this mechanic, this crowdsourcing mechanic, places should physically look more distinctive. They should reflect local character better than they do today. And the better civic environment that results from that is hopefully going to really boost quality of life and the local economy, as well as giving ordinary people, communities, local businesses a bit more of a stake in the ability to shape the places that they live in. So thanks very much for listening. Really appreciate your time. Cheers.